Welcome to TradeNBI.com. This is John. This reports for the 16th. Well, we had a nice dip right exactly to that 61% range, just above this previous level we had here at the 28.67. And we bounced right off it once we got above the 76 again. With nowhere else to go, buyers are forced to just follow the direction. And we were looking at a key, we'll look at it the 5K in a minute, but we were looking at a key point within our algo numbers. And it's like, well, hey, above there, if nothing is able to drive it below, then you know that's the spot. And sure enough, that's exactly what we rallied off of. And once you know what that spot is, everybody just keeps piling on because there's only one direction to go from there. Here we go from an NQ standpoint, again, all the way back above the EBM yellow, which that's always a simple one too. In this particular case, super easy because I always talk about when we dip below the ABM green right here, which just was above the 76%, it's just a matter of buying the return back up and then just following that along. So we should start to see a rebuild of the shakeouts here. Now we're back to positive from being negative. So complete reset means at this level, you can pretty much free ride from there. So that's a pretty powerful thing to be oversold, or as you might just say, just in our case, we say reset simply at or very near record highs. Only in a post-Fed construction of an economy that is starting to, make some moves, but far cry from repaired. And given the fact that you've got some of the major stimulus ending in a couple of weeks, that's really going to be the telltale sign when that takes place and whether or not there's going to be a significant move. Europe still staying closer to the high range. We kind of figured it would be right in there. It still has some backfilling to do into the mid range, but for now, Europe is still a little more active in some aspects than the U.S. as far as air travel, things like that. Not that it really matters that much. Of course, oil is going to be the real question mark. This is the deciding factor of things because really there's a huge interest to want to get it towards the 50 marker, but that also has risks because of the inflationary aspect of it. And so it's become something to watch because if we get there, I think that you might see more people moving into other categories, i.e. gold and some of these other things as opposed to equities. And a shift there would certainly have a dramatic impact, at least on the kind of, I shrunk this down, this accelerated kind of boom. So we were right about here going into the open setup from there, and we started to catch a bid just before market open. And once it did, that was it. Once we got above that 29.90, it was then the 30.13, kind of flattened out a little bit there, and then boom, 30.50, dipped fractionally below it before coming right back to it, and then boom, we just expanded back up. I just wanted to shrink that just to show that, once it catches that support line, there's just nowhere else to go within the setup. And now we have just big run here in the pre-market that's a lot of positive extremes. And again, we can go back to the same general areas. Got a couple little ones in between, like this is actually an interesting one, puts us right between the 50 and the 75 at the 62 range. It's actually around 64 and a quarter was the low. It had already been filled at this particular point, but it does give a nice reference point. And then from there, we just hit that same 31.10, sealed, and that's kind of what we're pushing right up about now. And from there, sky's the limit. Literally, it is, because with the devaluation in that, we're still going to be heading towards the 34 to 4,000 range. I know it was crazy when I said this weeks ago, back at the beginning of all this, but you just have to understand how the market views money. And a lot of people just think it's all based on what companies are, and it's not. So that's a different story for a different time. As always, trade well. I'll put up any relevant stuff on the Skype chat.